can be. We are now.
All right. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome all of you to this important event. Hastings College is a special place and our football program is an important component of our campus. Today we announce Matt Franzen as our 19th head coach in the past 100 seasons of Hastings College Bronco football. Our format today in this press conference will be an opening statement from Coach Franzen, then he will take questions from the assembled media. Follow the full assembly. He will be available for any one-on-one interviews if you'd like them, but we have to break out of here by 3:30 so we can get practice underway. As you can see via the press release, Coach Franzen has a notable history at Hastings College and part of the GPAC as well. Beyond the wins and notoriety he has been a part of. Beyond the wins and notoriety he has been a part of, he is a person committed to the overall well-being of the players, coaches, and staff of the programs he has been affiliated with. Coach Franzen is familiar with our school, our program, and understands that there are many strong parts of the culture of our team. He will continue the positive impressions our program makes with its academics, having a 3.0 GPA to finish last year, as well as being significant members of our greater campus community. He also understands the on-the-field success of the program has fallen compared to where it had been in its long history. The culture he retains and builds will bring forth successes on game days. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Hastings College head football coach, Matt Franzen.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to give the appropriate thanks, obviously, to BJ Pomeroy, athletic director, for giving me this opportunity. Also, President Rich Lloyd for stamping this move with his presidential seal of approval. I think I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention some folks at Doane who have been instrumental in my professional development over the years. First, President Jack Carter, who invited me as athletic director onto his president's cabinet, which hadn't happened with an athletic director prior to when that happened for me. And in the 2.5 years that I was part of his cabinet as athletic director, I've learned an awful lot about leadership through crisis, and about the, like it or not, I guess, the political side of the college world, be it athletics or running an administration. And so I want to thank President Carter for that. I want to thank the entire Doane community and the athletic department especially. The coaches that I've worked with over the past 2.5 years have been supportive. They've been friends. They've been respectful when we had to say no, and they've been great teammates in that department. I was fortunate to hire a handful of new coaches there, and I think we hired some really great ones. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is obviously we'll be on the other side of the fence, but watching as some of those programs develop, and knowing that hopefully I left a legacy at Doane based on some of the really strong coaches that are doing their work there now. So I wanted to give those thanks. I'm really excited about this opportunity. I'm sure there's some questions that will come. Maybe we'll ask some of the why behind this move, because it might not seem normal to move from an athletic director position to a coaching position, but this is a great place to be. I think it always has been. The facilities here are first tier, no question. The community is great, and we're looking forward to being a part of that. My wife is a two-time alum of Hastings College as an undergrad and graduate school master's program. I'm a one-time alum. I did my master's work here and coached here for 11 years, from 1996, when a guy named Barney Cotton was still the head coach, through 2006 with Paul Merkowitz, and then went on to be the head coach for 11 seasons at Doane College, now Doane University. and very excited to be back to open, I guess, the next chapter for me and my family, and more importantly, the next chapter for Hastings College football. So, all right, that's my statement.
So what led you from administration back to the coaching ranks?
Well, I guess when I went into the administration, when I made the decision to pursue the athletic director job at Doane, I had been the head football coach there for 11 years. We'd had a lot of success and really accomplished a lot of great things, and it felt like the time was right for me at that point to take what I thought was the next step. Maybe the last step. Maybe that would be a 20-year job for me. Once I got into administration, that first year I really missed coaching because it was still my team that was out there playing, and I wasn't able to be on the sideline with them because of a choice that I had made. The second year, I didn't miss the team as much, but where I realized that I needed to be back in coaching, and I haven't regretted the move because, again, I think the timing for me was right to step out of Doane football into Doane administration. But where I really realized that I wanted to be a head coach again, a head football coach, was at homecoming 2019, literally standing at the post-game reception and talking to two of our players who had their young families with them. And it was two names that, Mike, you will remember, and Adam, you probably will too, is Jeremy Wallace and Jeremiah Saffold, who were two guys that really turned the program, excuse me, get emotional on some of this, really turned that program around for us. And they didn't know it, but at the time, as I was talking to them, the sirens were going off inside of me that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be having an impact on young men like this so they can go on and raise their families. It's not administrating a department. And so I went home and I told my wife, I said, Lacey, I just had a moment of clarity like I've never had before. I need to coach. And I don't know how that's going to happen or where it's going to be or when it's going to happen, but at this point today, I am looking. And, it took a year and a month, I guess, to finally figure out where that was going to be. But that's, in a very emotional answer, sorry, that's how that came to be.
So after 13 years, when you walk back on campus, what were your thoughts, your memories of this place as you get ready for this job?
Yeah. Well, as I told I just met with the leadership team upstairs, and as I told those guys, I said, as old as these facilities are, which they're not in the grand scheme of things, I was here when this building was built. I actually toured through the building when you had to wear a hard hat walking through when this was all the dirt dug out down here, and the stadium was built. And my first year as a volunteer coach here in 1996, when this was the Elks 9-hole golf course, and we hosted the GPAC, or back then the NIAC golf tournament, with a bunch of coaches that came down to golf the 9-hole course. And that's where this piece of ground goes back to me, the first day of my coaching career as a volunteer. And so anyway, seeing the facilities built, obviously we had a lot of success here. The best years that I had were over at the old A.H. Jones, which is long gone. But then moving over and christening the new stadium, and in a night game against Huron College, which isn't even a thing anymore. Anyway, just a lot of really, really good memories, good teams, and really great people. Well, short term, and I met with the staff a little bit earlier today, and I shared with them I don't have a plan to come in and just and do a clean sweep like you might expect at a Division I school when a coach is hired. At Nebraska, most of the assistant coaches are going to be gone, and that coach is going to bring in all new people. I don't have that plan. I don't have those people. So I want to get to know the coaches that are here. I want to evaluate the coaches that are here. It starts with recruiting because this is the time of year where football recruiting takes place. And that's where it all starts, I guess, with the coaching staff. Now with that said, and as I shared with the coaches and with the leadership team, Coach Harper, who is outgoing, was very much a defensive coach. I am very much an offensive coach. And so how that all settles in to the staff with the full-time positions that we have remains to be seen. With the team, I watched several games this year, and I literally watched the live stream, so I didn't go back and study film. But what I saw in those games, I think the athletes are here. I think the athleticism is here. I think the players are here. For whatever reason, some of those games got out of hand quickly, and we need to figure out what the piece is that's missing to obviously not let the game get out of hand quickly, but if things do start to get out of hand, to come back quickly, to fight back quickly, and to stay in the game. And before you win the game, you got to be in the game. And I think that all starts in the off-season training and conditioning and throughout the coming spring as we develop the team that we're going to have here in the fall.
When you were at Doane, you didn't let a lot of local talent get away. Is the focus recruiting-wise back on the state of Nebraska?
Well, that's one thing that I truly believe in, and whether it's here at Hastings or at Doane or at the University of Nebraska, I think regardless of the level of play, you've got to have a really strong presence right in your backyard. And so, yes, to answer that question, for me and my recruiting, as I met with the staff earlier, we're going to continue to recruit the areas out of state that I think have been recruited very well. But what I want to do is come in and really work hard right in the area. And I'm talking the state of Nebraska, but the Tri-Cities and a 100-mile radius from Hastings, and really work to regain that presence. And I think that's where the roster is built. And like I said, there's a lot of great out-of-state talent that we need to bring as well. But I think we've also got to build that local presence again. And so that's something that I plan on.
Philosophy is concerned, same sort of stuff at Doane, bring here, you're going to try to change some of our stuff.
Well, the things that when I was the head coach at Doane that we did that I most definitely will do here because it works. It works for me. Is the recruiting piece first, like you mentioned. When I got to Doane, the recruiting hadn't gone well, but the in-state recruiting really hadn't, and that was an area that we committed to for a period of years and really built a strong team with a decent local flavor. And the other thing, and this is the part that I don't think is lacking, but something that I truly believe in, that obviously I will put my own spin on, is building the character of the program. This program's got character. I've seen it. I've talking with Mr. Pomeroy and the players that I met with. That's evident, but every head coach has their own way of how they're going to instill that. So I'm big on character, on identifying the traits that we really want to focus in on, and then holding our young men accountable to those. One other area that I'm really big on is good old-fashioned team building. And a lot of the team building that we will do will involve new athletes that are coming in August when training camp starts, where in a college program at the small college level, if you might have 120 players, almost half of those are going to be first-year kids that are just getting to town, and you really have to work hard to bring those guys in to the existing team and have everybody feel like they're an equal. And that's something that we're going to work really hard on when we get to that point in August, is that team building. And that'll pay off big for years as you build the program and maintain the program. Well, there again, I'm not overly rigid in my system. I believe that you have to be able to run the football on offense. I think you've got to be physical enough in the offensive line to run the football and to run the football when you need to. That said, as much fun as it might be to line up with two tight ends and run the wishbone, I think for now anyway, that era has probably passed. I don't know if you could recruit a team to that style of offense. So I would imagine sticking with more of the spread style of offense, but like I said, still starting and building on the ground game first. So I think that the passing game, is, in my philosophy and my experience, if you can run the ball, it's just a matter of time before you throw the ball over the top because the defense has to honor the run. So defensively, I'm not real caught up on a three-man front or a four-man front, but we've got to be physical in the front. You know, our defensive line and linebackers have to be physical. We've got to win the line of scrimmage, and be athletic in the secondary because there are a lot of fast receivers and quarterbacks who can throw the ball deep in our league, and we have to be able to line up and compete with those guys. So I think it all comes down to playing physical football on both sides, and I think if we can do that, like I said, the scheme I don't think makes a big difference. We've got to choose what we're going to do and then stay consistent with it, though. Well, the difference, I guess, when I went to Doane many years ago is they hadn't won. They'd really struggled on the field for a few years, but based on other circumstances, there really wasn't a team returning. We had 25 players my first spring, and we did spring football, and it's one of my best memories because there were no expectations, and you know, every day going out with that short of a team, and we had coaches playing offensive line so we could line up and do some 11-on-11 walkthroughs. But coming in here, the team is here. The numbers are fantastic, and there are players coming back. There are athletes across the board. And so for me, it's going to be a little bit different of doing a rebuild, but it's not really a rebuild. It's taking what's already here and just tweaking some things, I think. So I don't see a lot of significant changes that need to be made. I think maybe there's a few philosophical adjustments that need to be made, and maybe kind of redefining what our true north is, where we want to go, what we're going to define ourselves as a program, and what our standards are, and then just going in that direction. So I think it's really exciting. I think, like I said, I think the tools are here. Obviously, we want to continue to recruit great young men to come in the future, but I think with what we have here now, there's all kinds of good things to work with. Yeah, not long. When I decided a year ago, like I mentioned earlier, that I wanted to get back into coaching, I let a few people know so that the word would maybe get out under wraps. You know, I wasn't going to blast it out on Twitter that, you know, hey baby, I'm back. But I wanted the word to get out that maybe there is an interest, and I've got a good resume if the opportunity is there. But as far as communication, it happened in a fairly short window. Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, BJ hasn't been here all that long, so BJ's a year and a half in. And so I had been the athletic director at Doane when Patty Sartorius was still the athletic director here that first year. And then when BJ came on board, and then you throw COVID into the mix. And so when you're sitting on a Zoom meeting with 12 athletic directors and a commissioner, you're really not getting to know one another. You're not going out after the meeting for drinks where you really get to know people. So I think we've had the respect for one another and fairly quickly gotten to know one another. But I think our relationship is probably on chapter 1. Well, not probably, it is, but I think we'll get to know each other a lot better. I think we have a similar vision, I guess, in the conversations that we have had and the things that I think are important in running a team. I shared some thoughts with BJ about diversity on the team and on the coaching staff, character, character development and how important it is to do the right thing off the field before you ever even worry about on the field. And I think when we had that conversation in particular, I think maybe I was convinced that he would mesh well with my vision, and hopefully he felt that too.
There's no doubt that we're all chasing Morningside in football. Are you confident we can close the gap and compete with a team like Morningside as your long-range goal?
Absolutely, and you're right. And with, I guess with the league the way it is now, and I've this last year or two, I guess I've watched football closely. I watch the live stream games when I can, when I've been available and not administering another game at our place. But the league is, I think the top of the league is as good as it's ever been. And Morningside, Northwestern Iowa, and Dordt this year, obviously, were all ridiculously good. And do I think we can close the gap to that? There's no doubt that we can, and that we will. I think Morningside's been the top of the league since the league was founded 20 years ago. I guess Sioux Falls was with them until Sioux Falls decided to move to another league. But Morningside's been there all along. That is, that's the upper tier. But I've been in a program where not only did we close the gap, but one season we beat those guys, and with those other teams that are perennially very good, there's no reason that we can't and won't get into that mix. So, to say, yeah, we're going to win the league every year, that's not realistic. I hope that we do, but to say that we're going to be in the top tier, that we're going to be in the top three, and that's going to be our goal every year, I think that's realistic, and I think that's an area that we can definitely get to. And if you're in the top three, you're in the hunt. You're rated in the top 20 nationally, and once you're there, recruiting becomes easier. The brand is a lot sexier, and everything takes off. So anyway, I think that's where we can go. I have no doubt. There's a lot of great things here at Hastings College and Hastings community to sell. Well, yeah, I mean, early on, I guess, right when we started talking, it was the hurdle was more, and I was pretty open with BJ from the beginning. If it was just me, I don't need to hear anything. I'm here. But when I went to Doane, I was newly married. We had no kids. A wife who was just starting her career, and that was a really easy decision for us. Now you get 14 years later, and we've got two daughters who are in school, and my wife's career has climbed to where she's the vocal director at Crete Public Schools, and so now moving this direction, then the question is it fair to her to give that up? Can we find a similar thing here that she would be happy with, or do we try and do both? And how long can we sustain that? And so all of those conversations took place before, I guess, as a family, we finally decided that, yep, this is good. This is going to work for all of us. So anyway, doesn't really answer your question, but the conversation and the decision was a lot more than just me saying, yeah, this is the place for me, because there are a lot more players involved at this point.
If this job didn't come open, were you still had a vision of getting back in coaching if the job?
Yeah. Yes. I guess as a family, we really weren't interested in moving far away. Both Lacey and my parents are still alive, and our kids have cousins on her side of the family that they like to see as much as they can. And so, to take up and move several states away for us wasn't an option. And I wasn't unhappy with my position at Doane either. I mean, an athletic director at the college level is a pretty sweet gig. but like I said earlier, there was just a draw to get back into coaching. And so we talked long and hard, and in fact, I actually took a class last fall to become recertified to teach at the high school level, knowing that high school coaching positions are going to open every year within driving range of where we are. And so that was a very strong option. That was, the wheels were already turning in that one. Maybe for another year and a half down the road, there are 2 Class A high schools are going to open in Lincoln in 2022 and 2023, and so those conversations had been had, and like I said, I mean, it really started to look in that direction, and then there were a couple colleges, this being one of them, that if they opened would sure be intriguing also, and so that's how we ended up with this. Any other questions?
All right, thanks everybody for coming out again. If you want one-offs, one-on-ones, I know it wasn't a big group, but still, you just want a one-on-one time, please make your way up, and we'll keep chatting for another 20 minutes or so. All right? Thank you for coming, everybody. Thanks, everybody up top. Thank you for being here. It's a great day to be a Bronco.
Yeah, good seeing you again, buddy.
Thank you.
It's like we turned back the clock 8 jillion years.
You're right.
That's all right.